Hi everyone. I'm very happy to have you here. My name is Tanja Loktionova and I'm the founder of Values Value. It's a recruitment team that helps gaming studios find the best talent between the gaming professionals. Besides that, I'm a co-founder of In-Game Job. It's a job portal with all the job postings from the Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian market. And we help find all the possible jobs for game developers. Now we're soft launching in Poland, so please join us. Okay, today we're talking about burnout and professional burnout, and we're going to discuss the way it happens, how it emerges, how it can be diagnosed on the earliest stages, and how to cope with it. So let's start. The professional burnout has always been a problem for gaming industry and for the entertainment markets. But for the past year and a half, the situation has got even worse. All of this happened due to the pandemic and the restrictions that we faced, including lockdown, the obligation to start working remote for those people who have always worked at the office, for example. Uh, all the communication, all the interaction has become online. And besides the stress of the situation inside, there was so much panic and stress outside that, of course, it caused a great impact. And we're facing now a pandemic of professional burnout. Besides, when we're talking about burnout in games, we should understand that it has also its impact due to the type of projects you develop. For example, hyper casual with the very, very short production period and the need to create in a row a great amount of prototypes and facing a great um, expectations, which which do not always turn into a successful game. The same thing with mid-core projects and with casual projects when you do not know that it's going to be a hit. And even if it is a hit, you get into a row of constant updates. And this is a very big stress to have all the metrics the way they should be. And if we speak about big PC or console projects, then a very long period of development of several years can end in a huge depression for all the team. And of course, every kind of development may cause its own impact on your burnout. I asked several people to share their experience of burnout caused by the pandemic. And some of them speak about the impact that was caused by the processes. So everything becomes formal, very long discussions. The decisions can be taken for months, where previously they could be solved in days or even hours. Another example, a very depressing one. A girl had to leave the company of her dream, and because first she had been relocated and separated with her family, and she was you see that she was unable to return to the country, to her home country, and all of this caused more and more stress. I have here a research based on 6,500 people. This is a platform for online psychological help, and they asked the game development and IT people of what they face on the daily basis. And you see that anxiety is faced by more than 60%. Then we see stress, mood swing, lack of motivation, and around 30% face depression. If to unite all of this, we can see big burnout. So some people do not believe that professional burnout exists. They say that you do not like your job too much, you do not follow your calling or your vocation. This is a bad company, this is a bad manager, you are not good enough to cope with stress, and you get burnt out. But it is a diagnosis, and this is anxiety and depressive states that are synchronized with your job. And we often see that a man cannot cope himself or herself with burnout and can't stop working too much, and it only escalates. So how can you recognize burnout? Let's try to count. So you notice that you get tired very quickly, or you feel tired all the time. You hate Mondays. It's very hard to start your job, and you cannot concentrate. Besides that, you have trouble sleeping. Your eating behavior has changed. Your states vary from I think I should have said something wrong, or oh, I have forgotten to turn off the heater, up to the states and continuous thoughts of I don't expect anything good, or I don't deserve anything good. One more thing that happens to people who are suffering burnout is that they become more forgetful and inattentive to the things that are important to them. For example, they forget the birthdays of their dearest ones. One more thing to notice is whether you have started to get sick more often. Our body reacts to stress and becomes more weak, and that is why you get cold or you get a flu more and more often. One more thing is irritation. Irritation caused by things that were absolutely okay for you before. Irritation by the team and irritation by your own self. You work the same hours or even more, but your productivity has dropped and your concentration has dropped. It is important to notice whether you do not want to go out anywhere. And this is not because of the restrictions, because of the virus. It's just because you don't want to talk to anyone, or you don't want to see people that gave you joy of communication before. And one of the most important things is, if someone notices that you're not doing good and offers help, you do not accept it and you say, oh, I'm okay. In the previous slide, I've described the things that are already very hard not to notice. But there are things that help you recognize burnout even earlier. Okay, let's count again. I'm late for work, though I didn't used to. I don't want to turn on video during calls, though I am not in a bed, not taking a shower, and have all the opportunities to turn on the video. I'm too lazy to take care of myself. Starting with brushing your teeth or doing your hair, up to wearing the same t-shirt for weeks. I look for job openings more often. When I suffered one of my first professional burnouts, I noticed myself visiting the job sites at the very stressful moments. Besides that, the statistics from in-game job says that people search for jobs more often on Monday during daytime, when the stress from the start of the new week is the highest. My team annoys me. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk about non-professional things. And the thing that you should notice and try to start doing something with your burnout is when the project no longer drives you. I became apathetic. I feel guilty and weak. I do not want to communicate with people, not only go out. And again, they tell me about the problem, but I do not understand what they mean. This is not even being offered help and refusing to take it, but it's not even accepting the problem at the earliest stage. I've made a research, and I also read other researches and found out who is at the highest risk of professional burnout. First and most surprising for me was the most involved employees. Yes, and this point goes to the people who say that a burnout happens only to those who do not love their job. Oh, vice versa. The more you love what you do, the more involved you are, the more risk of your burnout emerges. The second point, especially at this very, very hot job market, is the cohort of HR managers and recruiters who burn out most. Then we see middle management, the people who are at the frontier of all the processes and who had the most hard times when we all had to switch from offline job to online, to work remote. It was also interesting for me to find out that mentors for juniors suffer higher risk of burnout. When I asked about it more and started to research more, I understood that very often the mentors for juniors are the most professional and the most nice guys in the team. And not all the companies give extra hours, working hours for juniors mentorship. And that is why the tension grows, and the mentor has to spend more and more time for his daily routine and for his juniors routine. And besides that, it is quite a challenge to be a mentor for junior online. Then we have consultants and freelancers, parents, especially those parents who faced the restrictions connected to a pandemic and were locked in their houses with their job and with their kids. We add here those people who survive parting or break up with someone they love, whether it is a forever breakup or whether it is a parting due to some countries, like someone is locked in Italy, another one is locked in Kiev. Besides, we add here people who suffer depressive states due to severe illness or death of loved ones, the relocation survivors, and people with addictions. These are the segments of people who suffer burnout most. When we experience burnout, one of the first thoughts, and when we face it and accept that, okay, I'm in the process of being burnt out, or I have already burnt out, one of the first thoughts may be to change your job. But if the problem is already related to your condition, changing jobs may not be the best solution. Instead, it can drive additional stress. If you think that another job, a new job, can really help you cope with burnout, there are some things that you need to prepare before making an impulsive decision. First, make some savings to have roughly the same spending level for the next 6 months. If you're, for example, a manager or top manager, or for 3 months if you are a linear developer or employee, so that you could not just rush and take very quick decisions about your new job, but take your time to take good care of yourself, of your body, of your mind and soul. Take good time in order not to rush and accept the first good or bad offer, but really take the important steps in order to start a new job without burnout. And if you're not going to quit your job right now, then you're ready to look for support. We'll start with self-support. I wrote these tips when I understood that my very, very long period of burnout had come to an end. And I decided to list the things that really helped me. The first thing was self-talk. It's just, am I being burnt out now? How do I feel? Is it at all tolerable to think and talk about my feelings? Because sometimes we're in such a bad situation, in a bad condition, that even the thought of your feelings can harm you. And it is better to talk to a professional first than start to talking to yourself. The next thing is to find what you love and what fills you. When you are being burnt out, it is very easy to start to neglect all the things that used to make you happy. It is very easy to forget why you have joined the gaming industry and what used to drive you. So you need to rediscover or find out what drives you and what fills you. Another thing, another step to take, and what you can do yourself, is start some psychological practice that will help you meditate or pray or another spiritual practice. It can help with the first point, to restore the connection with your own self. The next thing is to understand if you are following your calling and your vocation. Because I saw numerous examples when people got burnt out, indeed, just because they didn't love their job. Of course, I met these people when they decided to follow their calling and join the gaming industry. Another thing you can do is decide whether you need psychological support. Well, I'm an adept of visiting psychologists and psychotherapists. I've been in psychotherapy for more than 6 years. And it's only 2 months that I do not visit my psychoanalytic. And I must say that it really works. Another thing to do, and you can start with, is try to replace your destructive habits with less destructive ones. We remember that on one of the previous slides, there was the thought that people with addictions, with destructive addictions, suffer burnout more. Alcohol doesn't help, drugs don't help, gambling doesn't help, and so on and so forth. But if you start doing sports, or at least reading some fiction, entertaining fiction, or start playing more games, it can be a very good thing to start with. Our body is our main body and main friend. It takes the first hit of the stress and the hormones of stress and suffers most. So if you are in the middle of a burnout, it's a very good time to start taking good care of your health and of your body, and find support in this thing. Another support that can be found is improving your hard and soft skills needed for this specific job that you're doing now. And if you start learning management, or if you refresh or dive deeper into management and your professional domain, it can really help you to cope with burnout and give you more and more support to cope with your daily routine. One of the things that really helped me cope with burnout was coaching. I used to have sessions with a professional coach, and she helped me prepare for my maternity leave in order both of my businesses and other side projects did not suffer, and so that I did not suffer. I started asking for help and accepting it, and it really helped. What I also noticed is that self-training and career counseling, treating your career as a project, when you have plans, long-term plans for 1, 3, 5 years, when you have an action plan of which steps to take in order to get where you want to be, when you even don't want to switch jobs, but you have a very good CV and you are super ready to change the job, it gives you important support that helps reduce stress. Here's an interesting thing: vacation, preferably no longer than 7 days. What I noticed very often is that people in burnout who took quite long vacations, they restored their connection with themselves. And if this vacation was not too long, was about 2 weeks, but not 2 months, they returned back and said, "Oh, I'm done. I don't want to work here anymore." And we remember that it's not the best thing to change a job when you're in the middle of a burnout. It's better to cope with it and then with fresh sources find another job. One more thing is family, and family as an economic union. This is the support that is vital for fighting depressive states, burnout, and stress. Economic, it's because you need some savings sometimes to fight burnout away. And a helping family is one of the core things that helped me cope with burnout. One more thing is all you have is today. Out of all the tips I gave previously, you can choose at least only one, and one small step that you're going to take today, and one small step they're going to take tomorrow. You do not need to make a complex action plan of how you're going to start doing professional sport, visiting psychoanalytic, then a coach, a career counselor, and so on and so forth. Take several courses and start training this and that. No, all you have is today, small steps, and the most important one is to understand where you are now and what you feel. There is a dispute, there is a discussion of who is in charge of burnout. Some people tend to say that it's all on the behalf of the employer. Well, I think that if we were kids, then it would be true. But I hope that these are grown-up relations and everyone has his or her power to take decisions and responsibility. However, there are so many things that employers can do. The first thing that a manager can do, can make a small step today or tomorrow, is ask his employees of how they can be helped and how they feel. If you do not have such service in your company, you can start with a very short one, and it can be anonymous. This is a good way just to start talking about what is happening with your teammates. Such service can become regular and non-anonymous. A very good thing is to give extra day or days off when you have or are try to manage the call number. Start scheduling calls or there are examples. Google for or an employee can really spend meetings. And it is a very important thing to change in order to fight burnout. Remember about the vulnerable groups, the people with children, and find out whether you can organize some online kindergartens, pay for babysitting, have online schools and clubs. If the restrictions in your country are not that strong, it can be offline support. And one more tip is introducing marathons to reduce stress and anxiety. This can be marathons of self-conscious, this can be some coaching exercises, this can be some sport marathons. This also turns on the group dynamics and helps the people who burn out get annoyed less because of their teams. Well, what about some compensations for the people who try to reduce burnout on the remote? So I found some examples that seemed curious to me. What was approved? Innovating exercise bike, a massage machine, receipt for live lobsters, employee bill for houseplants, and private jet flights for CEO, 20,000 each, minimizing contact with people and the possibility of infection. These two things, like a home fitness sports bra and tea at the expense of the company, were not approved. The last thing I want to talk about is that burnout is really very close and is dependent on stress. And there are stress and pleasure hormones that can really make our life worse or better. You remember that I spoke about destructive habits. That is why I suggest you to get dopamine, serotonin, endorphin, anandamide, and oxytocin from the job environment. So where we can get dopamine? The dopamine is about a big goal, huge but not non-achievable. It's about the team with whom you reach this goal. It's about freedom. These are the thoughts of bright future and I can. And all of these can be found in gaming industry and in gaming projects. So the goal. Serotonin, it's the result. You can celebrate sprints, you can celebrate even small results of yourself and your teammates. Besides that, you can find this hormone in beauty, in observing nature, art, music, plus bananas, then dates and chocolate, light, bright light, and sleep. Very good sleep is very important. Okay, I spoke about working environment, so maybe sex is not the best thing here, but at home, of course, sex gives you hormones of pleasure and helps your body fight stress together with massages and sports, and by the way, spicy food. If you remember after this talk, the only one thing, that spicy food helps you fight burnout, then it's not such a bad result for me. I'm going to celebrate this result. Humor and eye contact, physical contact, and hugs. Hugs really help fight stress due to social distance. And for example, me recording this talk online, we cannot hug so often. But anyway, right now I send you a very big virtual hug and thank you for being here. So all game industry jobs at in-game job and game industry recruiters at Values Value, and me, Tanja Loktionova, on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Thank you.